peace.
Neil Griffith.
Mr. Speaker, does the Secretary of State agree with me that the starting point for negotiation should be the legal status quo, i.e., namely that the whole of the West Bank and East Jerusalem within the 1967 borders is Palestinian land, as agreed unanimously by the UN Security Council in Resolution 242, and not facts on the ground created by illegal settlement building?
Mr. Speaker, I think, though, Mr. Speaker, the Foreign Secretary is expecting from the Palestinians the patience of Job. I mean, the Foreign Secretary may be aware that in the coming month Israel is set to demolish hundreds of homes in the Palestinian town of Silwan to make way for a tourist attraction. Is he aware that it's also the single largest proposed demolition of Palestinian homes since 1967? What will the Foreign Secretary do to try and get some sort of sense of reality amongst the Israeli authorities to stop this illegal and unlawful theft of Palestinian land that can only hinder the search for a two-state solution?
Yeah. Chris Williamson.
Does the Foreign Secretary accept that a freeze on settlement building is not a precondition imposed by the Palestinians, it is a requirement imposed by international law?
Yeah. Sir Mingis Campbell.
My right honourable friend said a moment or two ago that the possibility of a two-state solution was slipping away. Does he now understand that there are quite a large number of people, well-informed commentators and analysts, who believe that that time has now gone?
Absolutely.
If the position now be that a two-state solution is incapable of achievement, what are the prospects for any stability in Israel in the future?
Negotiations.
Mr. Crispin Blunt.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Since it's the Foreign Secretary's view, which is also mine, that this is the last chance for a decisive move for peace, is it not time, therefore, to make clear to the Israeli authorities that if this doesn't work this time, the flagrant breach of international law that illegal settlements over 46 years since 1967 represents will finally have to be met by some serious consequences from the EU and from ourselves if this move for peace ends as all the others have?
As well.
Sir Gerald Kaufman.
With regard to conditions for peace, is the right honourable gentleman aware that last Saturday in Palestine I visited the mothers and surviving family members, for some have been killed by the Israelis, of Ayman Ismail, who is held in administrative detention and has been on hunger strike for 246 days, and of Sama Isawi, who is held on trumped-up charges after being tried twice, once by a civil court which said he shall be released tomorrow, and once by a military court which is holding him for 20 years. He has been on hunger strike for 223 days and is in a critical condition. Will the right honourable gentleman make clear to Netanyahu that if these men die, their blood will be on his hands?
Last Friday.
Worrying echoes of the southern states of the USA 50 years ago and apartheid South Africa of 25 years ago, the government of Israel introduced segregated buses for Israeli settlers living illegally on the West Bank and separately for the indigenous Palestinian population. Appeasing the racist regime in Israel has got to stop. Will the Minister, with his European Union colleagues, end our cosy relationship in view of such behaviour?
David Winnick.
Arising from an earlier question, isn't the crux of the matter simply this, that the Israeli government and previous Israeli governments do not believe there will be any serious consequences as a result of what they are doing? And can one understand the sheer anger and resentment and frustration of the Palestinians, who see absolutely no political progress at all? What would we do if we were in the same position as the Palestinians in the occupied territories?
It's progress.
Minister, Mr. Andrew Turner.
Is it not the case that in no other country would we allow large numbers of migrants to occupy their land, denying the land to local people? Could the Minister tell me why so much energy is put into the likes of Syria after 2 years, when nothing appears to be done about Palestine's West Bank and in particular East Jerusalem after 40 years?
Grave.
Andrew Slaughter.
The Minister rightly condemns illegal settlements and administrative detention and demolition of Palestinian homes, but he can't do very much, it appears. What he can do something about is the import of illegal goods from those settlements, which are running at 8 times the level of imports from all Palestinians, as a recent report, Trading Away Peace, I think he's familiar with it, reported from 22 NGOs. Will he now take steps to prevent the import of goods from illegal settlements to the UK?
Membership.
I recently visited Gaza as part of a cross-party delegation with Interpal. I was alarmed while there to witness shooting at and intimidation of Palestinian fishing boats on 3 different occasions, boats that appeared to be clearly inside the 6-mile limit agreed by the ceasefire. Now, earlier, the Secretary of State roundly condemned the firing of rockets into Israel, as is right and proper. But does he agree that peace depends on both sides sticking to the terms of the ceasefire, including Israeli naval ships?
Jeremy Corbyn.
Like the member for Brent Centre and Kettering, I was on a delegation with Interpal to Gaza last week, Mr. Speaker, and I'd be grateful if the Minister could tell us what is being done to lift the blockade on Gaza so that the terrible water situation can be addressed, where sewage cannot be processed, where fresh water is unobtainable because of pollution of the aquifer, and the material cannot be brought in to set up a desalination plant or something like that that can actually bring about a decent standard of living for the people of Gaza.
Extremely grateful.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Twice in the last year, the UK has failed to vote at the UN to support Palestinian aspirations for their own state as part of an overall 2-state solution. On each occasion, the reason given was that we did not wish to undermine a future US-led peace process. Could we get an update on the timescales for this and when the front bench think they might be able to vote in a different direction?